All right. Good evening, depending on where you're at in the world. Patreon's live. I'm here in the man cave as always. This is actually only the second video in the man cave. The first one was perspective on Saturday. So if you're wondering, like, well, this is new, you haven't seen the other episode, and go watch that. I guess it will officially debut to the public on Thursday. So this is still the second video in the man cave with no, where it's not live. It's just us on Patreon. So today, I'll be honest with you, I had a hard time deciding what I wanted to talk about here. I knew for a while, and then I was like, you know what? I am not confident in that. Quite frankly, I wasn't ready. I wanted to talk about why Patreon and make this a live video, put it on YouTube, put it on Facebook. But we'll probably wait until mid-season 3 to do that. But I kind of struggled what I want to talk about on here. And I'm just going to kind of let the Spirit guide me, because I have a verse I want to start with, and I have something we're going to kind of go off of here. But this is the whole thing of something different. I kind of just, and maybe I do this with every video to a degree, but this, I really just let it loose in these. So I don't know how long this is going to be. This might be my longest video ever. It might be my shortest video ever. It's hot in here, but I'm also reeling my fishing reel. So I'm going to kind of have something to do while we talk. I guess I'm unreeling it first. I got to find like a spool thing. Anyway. There's the verse I want to start with is in 1 Peter. And so if you've got your Bibles, you can turn to 1 Peter 3, and it's just one verse. It's not a big deal. If you don't want to turn there, if you just want to listen for a second. But in 1 Peter 3, Peter talks about, he says, be ready to give a defense for the faith that's in you. Just straight up. And that kind of has got me pondering a lot of things. One, what does that look like? Because I think I know what it looks like, but we'll come back to that. Really, the question I want to ask is, how do you know that you're there? Because I think a lot of people are probably ready to give an account, but are afraid they aren't. And I think there's a lot of people who are bold and ready to give an account for the faith and why they have it, but aren't quite ready yet. Maybe because of immaturity as a Christian, or maybe because of lack of study. Either way. So, and so the question then becomes, why? And I don't want to belabor on this too long, because I want to get to another point. But the point he makes there, be ready to give a defense for the faith, for your faith, basically, is like, look, people, I've given my defense, and there's no reason as Christians why we shouldn't have a defense ready to go. This is highlighted very appropriately in teens. And I don't mean to bash any demographic ever. I think all demographics are wrong. No. But I do think that every demographic has a flaw. And in teens, that this is their flaw primarily. Is that they can be so confident and so sure, but when it's time to face the fire, they can, at the same token, be so afraid, right? I know a lot of teens. They're not teens anymore. I know a lot of one-time teens who struggled with answering all the right things and saying all the right things in a safe situation. And then when push came to shove and it was a pressure situation, they crumbled. And that's fine. That happens. That happens to everybody. That happens to me probably constantly, literally constantly. So I don't blame them for that. I think I just blame their youth. And I had kind of a point I was heading with this, so bear with me as I try to re-find it. Yeah, you know, this is something I've kind of struggled with. Is being ready to give a defense. Even up until and during the times when I was a minister, and even now, it is so easy to just not have to say anything. It's very difficult. It's very difficult to get to a point where you are always ready to give a defense, where you know exactly what you're going to say, exactly how you're going to say it, et cetera, et cetera. And it takes time. It takes a lot of time. I know Zach can attest to this, and I definitely attest to this. The time it takes to put in to be confident in who you are, not only to be confident in who you are, but to be confident in who you are as Christ. It takes a lot of time. But it's not just a matter of being ready or feeling like you're ready. It's a matter of always trying to be better. Being ready to give a defense is required. Peter doesn't make it a question. It was never even a question Paul brought up, because with Paul, it was like, why would you not? Paul's life was a defense. And with Jesus, it wasn't an option either. I feel like this is lost in some circles of Christianity, in some circles, including a lot of, not all, the circles that I forged my Christianity in, get away from what a lot of people call a testimony. And maybe they don't get away from it, but they get away from using that word. And I think that that's probably to the detriment of the person you're trying to convert. Wow, that is offline. Oh, no, it's not. My eyes are bad. When we talk about testimonies, the people I know who talk about them freely and who are open, this is my testimony, they have powerful stories. Some of them who have come long, long ways to get to Jesus. And a lot of people don't start off with that, and that's fine. And you start off with the story of Christ. But I'm going to tell you something right now. Your story is Christ's story. Your story is Christ's story. Your journey to him is him bringing you to him. And it's just just as much a part of his story as the gospel. So don't forget that. I think a lot of people don't like to lead with their own personal story or their testimony because they don't want to make it about themselves. And I get that. But the amount of relatability that comes with sharing your testimony um, is unmatched. It's, I mean, I can't. How am I supposed to relate to somebody who is only telling me stories from a certain point of view, and they're not really telling me, they're not telling me everything that I feel like, and it's just it's just stories from the Bible, and that's fine. But I want to know about me. Obviously, it kind of gets tic-tacky there, but when we're talking about bringing people and encouraging people to think about Christ, we've got to have a story ready to share. And that kind of brings me around to the point I was going to make, is why giving a testimony matters, and why being ready. And because when I say testimony, I think that's a big part of what Peter's talking about in 1 Peter 3. In 1 Peter 3, he's saying, be ready to give a defense for the faith that's in you. And that's exactly what we ought to do. But why? Is it so we can argue the best? No, it's so that when we come across somebody who has a similar story to us, who's been through some of the same things as us, that we can say, hey, man, I know what that's like. Man, I know what that's like. And they can be like, oh, really? I mean, you do? Yeah, I struggled with that a lot. And there's your conversation. I just think we watered down the value of our own testimonies sometimes. And I think it's dangerous to do that. I think we've got to make sure that we don't lose the power of Jesus in our own story. Because when we lose the power of Christ in our own story, and when we forget that our story is his story, we lose the power of bringing people to him on a deeper, much more meaningful level. And then that kind of brings me back to my last passage, and really why I'm just sitting here doing all this while I'm talking. Oh, did that come off? Oh, that was going to be a powerful image, and I ruined it. Okay, imagine that I've just finished tying my knot, and I'm just going to start reeling my line in to re-reel my reel. And I say, and that's why Jesus called his disciples to be fishers of men. We're supposed to be fishers of men. And how can we fish for men with the wrong kind of bait? Right? I liked fishing a lot in college, and I've kind of gotten back into it in the last few weeks in a big way. And you got to use the right bait, or you're not going to catch anything. So that's kind of where I want to leave you with this. What kind of a bait does Christ want us to use? Does Peter say we ought to use? Be ready to give a testimony. Be ready to say, this is my story. Have your story on the tip of your tongue. Why do you believe in Jesus Christ? Because when you've got that ready to roll and you just say, this is why I believe in Jesus Christ, it changes a lot. That's all I've got. And I'm going to now, in shame, try to do this the right way. And I hope that by not having that visual, you didn't miss anything. But I hope you have a good night. This has been something different. and episode 2 with the new Man Cave wall. 2 days till season 3 drops. We're only growing here. Zach and I, we've only got podcast is growing. We're getting ready to launch off season 3 in a big way. So thank you for watching, and God bless. Oops.